Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tiger Takes. We are back better than ever. I'm Lyndon Blake. What's up, Allie? How are you?
Hey, back after a little hiatus. I had to take a little break last Friday. I had to be an adult for a short time, but so glad to be back. How are you, Lynn? Haven't talked
I'm
to you.
doing
It's like we
good.
never talk.
It's like we never talk. I'm doing good. I'm trying to hold in like a sneeze right now. It keeps tickling. So if I
Oh,
sneeze
tickling
and
your
have an
ears.
episode, that's what I'm up to. But I worked SEC Media Days this week, and it was a lot of fun. After
Yeah,
that hiatus last year, it feels like the last time. I mean, 2019 just feels like forever ago, but it was
right?
awesome
Yeah.
to be there, see the coaches. I know you were keeping up with all the action on Twitter. What were your thoughts about it?
I mean, I was just gonna ask, how nice was it just to like be around people in a sports atmosphere? I mean, I remember going to my first game, kind of in this 2021 kind of post-pandemic era,
Mhm.
and it was the best experience ever. I mean, I got like goosebumps. It was just a, simple baseball game for the Atlanta Braves, nothing crazy. But it
Yeah,
was just so exciting to be around it. So how was the atmosphere there? Were people pumped? Were people ready, for the fall
it
to
was
come around?
it was awesome talking to the players. I said this yesterday that I think everyone was just super grateful, and there was a lot of personality. Nick Saban even was just in a fantastic mood. And I know
Yeah.
people he gets a bad rap like interviews. No, he really is like a fun guy. But just to see him open up this week, talk about him bathing in the lake, that was awesome. Bo Nix seemed super confident. All the players just super grateful. I was even talking to some local guys I cover in Huntsville that play for Vandy, and just hearing them talk about what they've been through playing through the pandemic and how excited they are for, full capacity stadiums. It was super special.
Well, I can't even imagine how excited they are because my level of excitement for September 4th in Jordan Hare is astronomical. And we had some news come out in the middle of all of this, which is super exciting, that took Twitter by storm. I know it was a dream come true for me, but Penn State officially announced, I can't believe it, I might start like crying. I'm so excited that the whiteout game against Auburn, a night game, 7:30 p.m. on September 18th, will officially be the one of the best college traditions, I think, in football is the whiteout at Penn State. So that's super crazy because it's, not Michigan, it's not Ohio State, it's not another Big Ten team. Everyone was kind of freaking out. Chris Fowler even tweeted out a video of it last night saying, this is a wrinkle, but it's a really awesome wrinkle to have an SEC team go up there. I know the comments on the Penn State Instagram were like, oh, it'll be a cakewalk, which, underdog Auburn is the best chaos Auburn. So I will take it. But I cannot wait to be up there in a sea of orange and blue because it sounds like, from what I gather, a lot of fans. Ticket prices going up north are skyrocketing from
Well, we
Atlanta
know
and
our
down
friend
south.
Peter from New York that owns St. Pat's, like, they
Yeah.
are even taking those two charter buses that we talked about here a couple of weeks ago. I've got to find my way up there somehow.
I
So
mean, it's like you can't miss it. For a while I told about it, and it's going to be a pricey away game, but I think it's going to be worth it. I mean, these games come around, these kind of home and home series come around once in, it seems like a generation for Auburn. So it's super pumped. My family, my granddad actually went to Penn State. I have a
oh,
ton of cousins
no
that went up to Penn
way.
State. Yeah, so it's going to be, my family's from the Philadelphia area, so it's going to be a crazy game, and I was joking with someone from Penn State last week, they're tailgating and they know how to tailgate up there. They
Oh,
ain't
I
seen
know.
nothing like an SEC tailgate. So they don't even know what's coming up them from the 334. But I just thought that was really cool news. And let us know in the chat if you're live with us. Are you heading up north to Penn State? Are you making the trek up? Weather's perfect in September, so it should be a super exciting night game.
The last time I went to a Penn State game, I was in high school, and I took the ACT in the morning. Then this is the last time I'm bringing up Alabama, but I'm from the States. I have been to Tuscaloosa a few times too. But my friends would never let me live this down because all I had was like an alley. You're like, this is so you. Was like a Ziploc bag of cash, and like probably 10 of it was in like quarters or something. And I bought me a
Oh,
ticket
that's very
on the
Linden. Yep.
street to go to that game. It was Penn State Bama back forever ago. But yeah, so take your Ziploc bags up there to Happy Valley and make sure you get a seat at that whiteout. But let's turn the whiteout blue.
I'm into it. I think it'll look so great. I just keep imagining these pockets of little orange and blue all around the sea. So just so you can see like the Auburn fans standing out there. But before we get into it, we recapped. You mentioned Bo Nix yesterday. I just want to hit on him because we did break down our top 5 most excited players on offense for this upcoming season. And Bo Nix obviously was on both of our lists pretty high. And I was really impressed with him yesterday. He, like we've always said, his character is an Auburn man through and through. He was raised an Auburn man, as cheesy as I'm sure eye rolling are listening to me say that. But, he really held himself against a really tough season. He got, pretty scrutinized coming out of last season on what was he going to do in his junior year, sophomore slump. What does that mean? And I think he really took the off season to push himself. So I'm pumped. So what did you think about his comments yesterday before we dive into our big old
first off, let me
defense?
just say, put some respect on all the players that talk at SEC media days, because they're being stalked. When you say Bo Nix media, I was thinking, I had my camera, like I could see like the piece of lettuce in between his teeth. Like you're so up in their grill, and that's all day long. And it's just insane pressure. But one of the things that he said yesterday that stuck out to me was, he was raised by Patrick Nix. Like he's been a ball boy, a stud in high school, started as a freshman. But he said this offseason, he's watched the most film, more than he ever has. So I think that's important. He likes working for Harsin, who is a quarterback himself. So I think we're going to see a new Nix, a more focused Nix. And I like that he took ownership that last year kind of was like not good. Freshman year, yeah, it's cool. Last year, no, but it was a growing year for him. He does have the experience, which is what we talked about last week. That is so important in this conference.
Nope, I totally agree. Now, I would like to say, a lot of people love the quarterback, the flashy wide receivers, but my boys are the defensive boys. Those guys, the big sacks, the interceptions, that is where I get my excitement from watching this team. And this year, new defensive coordinator, Derek Mason, who is a dog. I don't know how else to describe him. Every time that I talked to him when I was at SEC Network or just, around the league hearing from him, he is nose to the ground, no BS. It is grind and go. And if you mess up, you're out, which is, I think, a great lesson, coming out of it. And he's been a head coach. So I think that's a really interesting combo as a DC too as well. But we're going to break down our top 5 defensive players. We're so excited. Well, top 4, I guess, because we had some similar. So the top 4 defensive players that we're most excited for to be repping the AU this fall. Lyndon, why don't you kick us off with number 4 on your list?
You know this guy's name now because he's made headlines over the past week. My number 4 is none other than Tony Fair. I can't wait to be like screaming this fall, that ain't fair, but it is fair. Get it? So
I love
him.
Look at you.
Because I know I'm here. I'm awake this morning, guys.
You're here for it. We are ready for it.
So ready for these defensive guys. Obviously, you're going to get behind a guy that says he wants to take the head off the elephant, and he's never even played in an Iron Bowl before. He's a graduate transfer from UAB, so he's played 2 years in the state. And I think he is one of the most excited people ever. He did a lot at UAB. I wrote down some notes this week. He had 32 solo tackles over his 2 seasons and 2 sacks there for the Blazers. So he's going to build off that working under Derek Mason. And I love this energy in July when we have till the end of November to start trash talking. And going back to Bo, yesterday at Media Day, someone brought up Tony Fair's comments, and Bo just simply said, I love that quote. He doesn't want to take the head off the tiger. He wants to take the head off the elephant. He says Fair's confident, and that's what you need. And that's what Bo kind of built off Fair, saying everyone wants Auburn to be scared of Bama. And they're not. They want Bama like everyone else says they do. But Auburn has the unique, situation where they do get to play them every single year and all eyes are on them. So I think this guy's going to have a blast. Lucky us. How blessed.
Yeah, and I think, Auburn does really well with grad transfers. I mean, they call it, transfer you for a reason because, it's guys really can make a statement. And when you only have a year of eligibility left, time ticks. And we talked about this with some wide receivers last week, you get 12 games and that's it, less than that sometimes. And, injuries, anything can happen on any given day. Like you have to make every play count. And I think having, him having that kind of energy already in July just gets me so pumped. And you need guys on defense. You need to go out. There is a grind in the SEC for those, defensive linemen, everyone on defense to go up against those potent offenses, left and right every single week. And I mean, that energy is what you need because those games last a long time in that Southern heat, baby, when it's 3:30 and that sun is peak position when you're playing against LSU in Baton Rouge.
And
So
Damien
that is
said he loves the quote in the comments. I don't know if you saw it, Allie, but I
oh,
wonder
I did.
how
Yeah.
fast we're going to get a shirt in Tiger Rag that just says, take the head off the elephant.
I love it.
Love it.
No. And we love the comments. We're equal to everyone that's been joining us. We're so excited to have you on Tiger Takes. We're breaking down our top defensive Auburn players that we're so excited to watch this fall. My number 4, and I think he might be on your list too, but my number 4 is Smoke Monday. I mean, the name can say it itself. Anyone might be the best name, I think, in college football. Smoke Monday, he was a guy that was a Malzahn guy, was a Steel commit, and he came out in the off season and said, I'm coming back. I'm really impressed with Harsin. Harsin was real with me, which is super important for a new coach to come over and win players like that. And Derek Mason, I think, has a lot of respect in the league, which goes a long way with a lot of players. And, one of the quotes was, I believe Harsin will do great things. And that is a quote that I think a lot of people need to realize, because if you combine a locker room, usually that can transfer onto the field. Last year, he had 73 tackles, including 4 tackles for loss and then 2 interceptions this season. And, I think a lot of people, he struggled with some injuries, kind of going in and out of the game. But I think as a senior, again, this is a very old, defense that's coming back for Auburn. And I think that experience, like about with Nix, can definitely play off on that side of the ball too. So he's a fun guy on Twitter. He's already jumping in on the name, image, and likeness train. I mean, how could you not, again, with that name? But I think bringing in a senior leader, he seems to be very vocal. Players seem to really respect him. So having, Derek Mason Harsin get him to come back for a senior year was huge. And I think that can definitely transfer if he's able to, 1, stay healthy, and 2, take advantage of playing time, because it is a senior, it is a very senior defense, like I said. So you have to take advantage when you're, on that field.
Yeah, and he is one of mine. So I agree with everything you said. And I think if you just look at his stats, what he was able to accomplish from 2019 to 2020, how much he improved, I think nearly tripled his total tackles. And what more can you ask for to see that steady improvement on the stat sheet? And when you have a name like Smoke, you're a fan favorite. He's very respected in the locker room. He is one of the leaders. And I think it boils down to the points take away is he was a Malzahn guy, like you said. He could have gone anywhere, but something that Harsin and his staff did made him want to stay, which is encouraging to everyone, all the fans that are questioning the coaching staff or what is it going to be like. There is a lot of unknowns, but to know the players respect them is huge.
Here I am just like a bobblehead, because this is like we're just agreeing on the same page. I think there's another guy on my list too that was a potential transfer. And I mean, we've seen the transfer portal, guys can go anywhere. I mean, within limits most of the time, but they really can go anywhere. So I think that is a testament to what Harsin and Mason came in and knew they had a job to do.
I mean, look at Tennessee. Half their team left with the new coaching staff.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy. Like if you go look at how many players they lost, and yes, they have like 8 guys coming in from the portal, but I mean, Auburn did a decent job getting the big names back to stay. So got to give them kudos for that. Let's move on. This is another fun one.
Number 3.
My number 3, JJ Puggies. What's your nickname?
Pegasus,
for him,
as I like to call him. Pegasus. Just because he's so large, and when he is running down that field, it looks just like a little gliding Pegasus going up there. And hopefully he doesn't take offense to that. But that's a big boy. That's a big boy.
Every time he took a snap on offense, yes, he did play offense last year and played pretty much every position on offense. A spark was lit in that Auburn team. What this guy was able to do and just the excitement he was able to create around the game. He is from Oxford, Mississippi, and Lane Kiffin said he would be a great defensive guy, top 5 pick. And it was like Harsin just said, wait, what? Let's move him to the opposite side of the ball, take him from offense, move him to the defensive line. This will be his first year, so I'm excited to see what the big man can do with his size and kind of compared to what Derek Brown is going to be able to do, your guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do, and it'll be, a fresh position.
Yeah, I mean, those are some tough shoes to fill with DB. But I think it's interesting. I mean, a guy like that, when you can have the knowledge to take on every position and learn different playbooks and understand both sides of the ball is a testament to him already without even having to touch the field. But I mean, with that size comes size. Sometimes it's not about being a 5-star, recruit. When you got size, you can block. If you can get your hands up and not wrap and not take a penalty, you're going to block someone or you're going to tackle someone. That's just inevitable. So I think it's going to be really interesting to what they do with him. And it sounds like he's excited. I mean, a guy who's a team player, obviously, when you have guys switching positions and going from offense to defense, that can kind of put sour tastes in mouth or, not have guys as committed. But he seems ready to rock, which is, again, a testament to him and a team player and what that locker room is trying to build. Even from the comments we heard yesterday that it's a bought-in locker room. They're pumped for this fall, and that just, I think, it should get the fans, excited too.
And Owen Pappo said one of the defensive leaders is Puggies. So there you have it. He made the switch. He's in a different meeting room now than he was before, was last season, but he's already stepping up in that defense meeting room, making an impact on some of the vets like Pappo Smoke Monday. So let's go. Let's see him do his thing.
I'm pumped for it. So, and I'm also pumped for my number 3, Roger McCrary, who was the other guy that I was talking about that, had the option to leave once Mel's on, left program and Harsin and Mason took over. And he announced as well that he would be returning for his senior season. And he had a really big expanded role in 2019. He'll be a senior this year. He had 36 tackles, an interception, a team high 12 passes defended, and he is 6'1", 188, and he was only a 3-star. And so with him coming back, that returns, I believe, all 4 of Auburn's top 4 cornerbacks from last season, which in the SEC, that is crucial at that position. Usually you have 1 or 2 leave to the draft or just graduating, but to have all 4 top cornerbacks returning is massive for Derek Mason to play around with. And he is a guy, again, when you have a kid buy in again, and Derek Mason, I think, has made some comments about how impressed he was, with McCrary in spring practice. That's just another testament. It's another senior guy in the locker room. It's a guy that has exceeded expectations. Like I said, was an overall 3-star, I believe, on the recruiting websites. And that chip on your shoulder pays off if you put in the work. And a 3-star has the option to be just a 3-star or exceed expectations, like I said. And I think he definitely has done that. And I think he'll be the senior of the quarterbacks, if I'm not correct. So that's, again, a huge, in meetings like you were mentioning with JJ, those meetings are so important when you're watching film, because when you're watching, LSU, he's played LSU 3 times already. He's seen everything that the SEC has had to offer, and he can pass that knowledge down. And I feel like at cornerback, that's super important when you're watching, routes by other teams or, what the cornerback's doing or anything like that. Like, you are dialed in more on film to memorize those routes or to understand, offenses. And I think that senior leadership's really, really going to pay off for Auburn, having Roger McCrary come back.
It just adds to kind of what we discussed last week with that offensive line experience. Like, if you take away the drama of, we have a first-year coach, this new era, we do have so much experience coming back on both sides of the ball. Still picked to finish 5th in the West. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But experience does count for something, and that's a word you're going to hear a lot the players say. They've been here, and yes, there's been that coaching change, but these guys are very bonded, and we've always said that about the players. Even through the drama, they really are close. No one's bad-mouthing Bo. Like, it is kind of a family joke. I hate saying the Auburn family.
I hate saying it, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah. So
no, it is true. I mean, it's cheesy as it is, but
cheesy but true. And we're family too.
Cheesy,
so we're family.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
Exactly.
So we already talked about Smoke Monday. That was my number 2. So do you want to go to your number 2, Al?
Yeah, and I think this is a guy that you've mentioned would have made your list as well, is Cobi Mclean, which is one of 2 of, arguably, people are calling the best 2 SEC linebackers with the Owen Pappo duo coming back this fall. And I mean, it's, when you have that already pedigree coming in, It's very, very important. And Auburn's returning 5 with Popo and Jacoby coming back, 5 of their top 7 tacklers. And he led the SEC last season with 113 tackles, I believe, which is a hell of a lot of tackles for a kid to make. And so he and Owen definitely are the Bulldogs, for Derek Mason on that linebacker position. And they didn't have the greatest pass rush last year. That definitely wasn't something Auburn was strong at. But it won't be because they lack talent this year. I think they definitely all grew, and Cobi Mclean is, like I mentioned, can either take the pedigree of being, labeled as the best duo linebacker coming back on Twitter, on social media, from reporters, and take that and own it, or it can get in his head. And I think that's what I'm kind of most interested about, is it can go one of two ways. You know what I mean? When we talk about, I think, our duo number one, and Owen here in a second may not have lived up quite yet to his 5-star that he came into as a freshman. I think there was a lot of expectation and a lot of hype. I think some may say he hasn't quite lived up to that. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how those two play off each other. And every SEC offense is going to have them circled, which I think is also going to be interesting. Will they be targeted? How often? Will they be able to see the chances knowing that he came off such a big season, last year? So I'm interested to see how he takes this next step in his career. You've got the pedigree, you've got the accolades, you've got the attention. Can you withstand that, in the SEC and everyone's favorite conference in the country, it seems like, this past week? So what are you going to do with that? Everybody, what are you going to do with that pressure? What do you think?
I mean, definitely a breakout season for him. He made a name for himself in a year where it was tough. It was an all-conference schedule, and what he was able to do with that. I mean, I think it's going to be kind of, I don't want to say like a breather because they're not going to let off, but this season is not all conference. They're going to have the Akrons coming up first. It kind of like, the hype is there.
That's a really good
Maybe
point.
Get your feet wet a little bit in these first, games and kind of get that, okay, have a great game and then build off that confidence, because what he was able to do last season in that tough situation, just flat out incredible. Let's see. Quan says the first 5 games will tell us how our season will go. Yes, and Auburn's picked to win 7 games. So maybe we'll start off, 5-0. That would be 5-0.
Wouldn't that be crazy? that means I'd be 1-0, 1-0 on a big travel game, winning against Penn State. But I agree with that, Quan. Yes. I think the first 5 games, Akron will be what it is, and then you come straight back with some big games coming off Labor Day and all that kind of stuff. And I think Carson, it's gonna take time. It took Gus time in that 2013 season. They had that early LSU loss, and then the team really regrouped and completely dominated and or stayed strong and didn't bend and break, which I think a lot of people use that phrase with Auburn. A lot of times Auburn bends and either breaks, snaps, falls apart, or if the team is strong, if the locker room's strong, they bend and snap right back. And I think we'll know really soon, within those first 4 or 5 games, what Harson's team is going to do this season.
And what I've just been hearing about Harsin, and this, like the way he talks about stuff, he's paying just very close attention to every detail. He wants players on time. He wants to figure out, why are you showing up late? Why did you miss this workout? Why did you miss this class? He's kind of very dialed into them, I think, individually, from what I've been told. So we'll see how that translates to the field. And
don't you just love an Auburn fan? We'll see. Who knows? Auburn chaos. I mean,
right?
It really is.
Like one day we won't be the we'll see girls. We'll be the, we know that we have the best.
I was watching the Bammers, which is our Alabama version of this show on AL.com, and they were saying, "Oh, it must be so nice to not have to worry about games." Can't relate. I literally cannot relate to never having to not worry about a game, whether it's a cupcake game or Iron Bowl. I cannot relate to not having to worry about what the outcome of the game is going to be. So shout out to our Bammer guys. I wish you guys the best, because you guys must have no anxiety or gray hairs when it comes to your football team.
It's so
But Lyndon, why
funny.
don't you, yeah.
I was just saying like how Harson's like the players need to be super dialed in. I'm like, shoot, as fans, for every single game, we have to be dialed in because Lord, like you can't go make yourself, a nice cup of Milo sweet tea without, missing just an explosion on the field. So
Exactly. One
we've
way or
been
another,
dialed in
bad
for
or
years.
good. Well, and just to kick it off, this is my favorite Auburn shirt. I believe in work, hard work, which is my favorite line from the Greed. Shout out to the Scarlet and Gold girls for this awesome game day shirt. But I think this is true testament to what this team, they really are hard work. And I think kicking off our number one, Lyndon, he is the definition of what he said he has done this offseason is believing in hard work and knowing it's going to pay off. And he talked a big game at SEC Media Games. So why don't you kick us off on our top dog for the defense this fall?
Our number one player we're excited to see is none other than Owen Papo, who had a fantastic media day. He got me pumped up. I love watching him speak. And the funny thing is, a reporter asked him, he goes, Harsin said he brought you to SEC media days because he was scared of what would happen if he didn't. And Owen just laughed so hard. And he was like, no, my dad is way more excited than I am. He's been watching all week and been like preparing me for it. So I'm just so happy he had a blast yesterday, first of all. And he gave us such good insight into that defensive locker room and talked about the culture change, the attention to detail. He's coming off a year last year, back to my notes. He had 93 tackles, 4 sacks. He's going to be partner up again, like we said, with McClain. And I think he's very locked in and ready to prove people that Auburn is someone to be messed with, and they're not going to be 5th in the West. He wants to bring them back to the top, and I just truly appreciate his approach and how he said, people are going to, like we mentioned earlier, peg them out the coaching change, but he was like, our guys are good. Our guys have stepped up in the defense. They get to go up against Tank in practice. And he was like, oh, we can take Tank down. Don't worry about us, So they get to go up against one of the arguably the best running back coming back in the nation. And I'm pumped to see what they can do.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point that I never even thought of that. Every week they've got to go up against, not arguably, the best returning SEC, the best returning SEC running back in Tank. That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Like I mentioned, when Auburn signed Owen, it was a massive, massive get. 5-star linebacker. I mean, those come, every so often, especially for Auburn's lane when he, had offers from everybody in the country. And the transition people don't understand that I kind of talked about on a podcast this week is, a kid can be labeled a 5-star and could be for a variety of reasons. It could be the talent on the field. It could be anything. And it could be schemes when you come into college. It may not have matched the talent that he had in high school. And I think, for the first, obviously Owen had a, great freshman year. I think last year he struggled a little bit, but I think everyone did in COVID. So again, how can we really, chalk that up? We have Vernon. I'm saying exactly what I think. I think even better, Mason's defense is one that Owen is familiar with in high school. Wow, look at that. Great minds think alike. And that's what I was just about to say is, I think his talent of why he was a 5-star transitions very, very, very well into what Derek Mason's schemes are on defense. And I really think he's gotten bigger. I think he put on like 20 pounds, which is a lot of weight at a linebacker. And I think one of the cool things too is Deshaun Davis, who is a linebacker at Auburn, who's a fan favorite, and came in not as a 5-star, but had to really work for it. It's really close. They're always hyping each other up. And I think that's a really cool relationship. Deshaun really had to overcome a lot and ended up as, one of the best to wear orange and blue at the linebacker position. And I think Owen can learn a lot from that. And like you said, like we said about Jacoby, it's there. The attention is there. You won at media days, you won over everyone. You got the fans so excited. You're getting labeled as possibly the best linebacker duo in the SEC. What do you do? I mean, and that's kind of the question of, I think, every position under Harsin, under Mason on this defense is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to come out there and lay down? Are you going to come out, against guns blazing against some of these early teams and make a point? And if I were them, and if I was Derek Mason, I come out against Akron and I rock helmets and I lay it down early that this is not going to be a joke. So that way, when you head up to Happy Valley, there isn't a question. There is no question marks on what can be done. And I think those early games, sometimes players can take it easy. And I understand not risking injury or anything like that. But if I were them, I lay down the law. that we are the best and there shouldn't be question marks throughout the rest of the season. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things Papo just kept emphasizing yesterday was Auburn gets in way too many, defensively third and long situations. There's too much pressure on them to make that big stop. You get that one chance.
Yep.
He said what, Mason's really working on is getting after it, being way more physical, getting on them early, just, getting off the field so they, can preserve that energy. And that's what he said they're going to do this season, which, is like a basic concept, but it's something Auburn on both sides of the ball, my gosh, we struggle with it last season for sure. So
if I never see a
like
third and long
confidence.
again, I will be a happy little Auburn gal. Third and longs are the definition of my tombstone. There she died on third and long. Watching her TV. And I think something that we definitely need to talk about that goes along with his defense that isn't a player, but we've talked about him a bunch, is Derek Mason. Some of his interviews, he obviously was a head coach at Vanderbilt for a while, was let go. But what he did at Vanderbilt on some seasons was super impressive at a program that isn't an Auburn in the SEC, doesn't have the talent necessarily always that Auburn has consistently. And I'm pumped. Defense is his bread and butter, very similar to what Gus's bread and butter was offense. His bread and butter is defense. And some guys are really good coordinators. They just really, really, really are. And Kevin Steele was proof to that. He ended up being a great coordinator for Auburn. And I think Derek Mason, I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see some fist bumps on the sidelines. He's a guy that gets in players' faces and energizes them and feeds off the energy. And I think the players, at Vanderbilt did the same for him. And it sounds like, according to Owen, if the locker room is as bought in and is as pumped and ready to, prove a point, that's, starts with Mason at that defensive coordinator.
And, talking to the Vanderbilt players at media days, and like I said, one of them went to James Clemens. I live in Huntsville. So we were catching up with him, and he obviously was recruited by Mason, played for Mason. And one of the things he just said about Vanderbilt as a whole, he was like, we work our butts off in the classroom, but he goes, it may not always show on the scoreboard, but he said, Vandy, they have us working just as hard, if not harder, than the Alabamas and Georgias, is what he said. And that started with Mason. There was never a question that the players loved him and the energy he brought to the sideline, the energy he brought onto the field sometimes from the sidelines. Always a good time. So I'm excited for the defensive to have that kind of shot in the arm with Mason. And you almost even, because there's been so many changes, I think it can sometimes fall to the back of your head that he is a defensive coordinator, because so much.
I do too. I forget all the time.
Yeah, like it's all the time.
Harsin
coming from out west, like Western Boy, humidity, all this kind of stuff. We have Derek Mason, man, as our defensive coordinator.
Isn't that crazy? And Mike Bobo is offense. Like, what? Like, it gets more and more as I think about it, the more and more insane that, like, holy smokes, this is like new with two very established guys in the coaching world as coordinators. And sometimes
Holy
it pays
Smoke
off,
Monday.
sometimes it doesn't. Holy Smoke Monday. Now there's a hashtag for you. Well, I think that wraps up our list. Let us know in the comments who you're most excited for on the defensive side of the ball, how pumped you are for Derek Mason, how nervous you are. Let us know in the chat as you guys are watching it live or on replay. But I think it's time for our
Tiger Takes
favorite.
is about to take off, Allie. Now since SEC
Media
Days is in the books, here we go. We are full speed ahead.
I think it's 6
season.
weeks.
Oh, thank you so much, Vernon. And like I said, as Tiger Takes move on, we're going to evolve the show. We hope to go to the Plains one day. We want to meet you guys, hang out, just make this our little Auburn space here on the internet. We're so excited.
Our
favorite part of the show.
Little Auburn space. Our safe little Auburn bubble. Why don't you kick off our favorite segment of the show?
So we're going to do the Tiger Toast because it's Friday and we're so excited. Friday. So let's just Tiger Toast one to the kickoff of football season. Coming off media days, let's, Auburn wrapped it up. They're the last team to take the stage, and because they are just the best naturally. So let's just Tiger Toast to this new era of Auburn football. This weekend, I'm going to go drink a Ghost Train Kettle Sour. I may mess that up, but it's a Birmingham company. Y'all check it out. They're really, really good. And I'm going to toast this new Auburn season, and I cannot wait to experience it in Jordan-Hare in just a little, I don't have the day count in my head, but a little over a month. 5.5
Oh my
weeks.
gosh, isn't that nuts? I just, after last year, it
Crazy.
seems like we've been waiting for this moment for forever. And I agree. SEC Media Days always kicks it off, and once that's done, it's full steam ahead to the season. So shout out to all the beat writers out there, because I know it's not a tough grind trying to chase down recruits this time of year. But I'm gonna be toasting. I think I'm gonna have an espresso martini. That sounds so delicious after a
Ooh.
very long week of work. So that sounds delicious, and I'm going to toast. I've talked about her, Lee, on the gymnast who's in Tokyo, but there's quite a few Auburn athletes that are kicking off the Tokyo run for the Olympics this year. So I just want to toast to all of the Tigers, bring home that gold. I would love to the United States people to bring home gold more, but I know that there was like a track and field guy who was the pallbearer for the Bahamas, which is a great honor, in the opening ceremony. So shout out to all the Tigers in the Olympics, and we hope you guys do us proud and war damn and enjoy Tokyo, because I'm obsessed, and that's like on my top 2 bucket list places to go. So I hope you guys soak it in and enjoy it, because we'll be watching back here in the
And
States.
I hope they feel the love, because without the fans and everything, the Auburn family, I said it again, we have your back always. And it's so much fun to watch the Tigers in Tokyo and always in the Olympics. They're the best.
Always. Awesome. Well, I think that's a great show. I think this is week 8. And like Lyndon said, we're going to be, evolving. We want to talk tailgating. I need some recipes for this tailgating year. After a year off, I'm a little rusty. So we're going to talk tailgating. We're going to talk maybe some little clothes outfits and what you need to be wearing to an Auburn game, and just fun stuff, what Auburn fans are talking on Twitter and what we're most excited for the season. Oh, thanks, Sally. We're so excited that you guys watch. And the positivity. Wow. I never am a positive
Eagle.
Polly.
We're just positive girls, just a bunch of
Positive
Auburn
Pollies.
girls.
And we're so excited to smoke too. So thanks again, Lyndon. As always, I'll never talk to you until next Friday. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I mean,
If anyone doesn't know, we literally talk. We talk literally, I think, guys,
for talking
20 times a day.
So
Yeah, the boyfriend
it's
hates
bad.
me, so that's okay.
Oh my gosh, no.
But thanks again for joining us, guys. It's always so fun, and we will catch you next Friday here on Facebook and YouTube on AL.com. Tiger Takes. Allie and Lyndon, take another week.
Yes, bye. War Eagle, y'all.